The first $1 million is one of the hardest financial milestones to reach. But here's the strange part. The first million and the second million are not playing the same game. When you're trying to reach your first million, you are the engine. You work. You learn. You build. You take risks. You turn your time into skills. And your skills into income. But after you've accumulated enough capital, something changes. Your money begins doing part of the work. A 10% return on $10,000 is only $1,000. A 10% return on $1 million is $100,000. The percentage didn't change. The investment didn't suddenly become smarter. The difference was the size of the base. And that is why your first $1 million is different. But there's another reason. The first million isn't just a financial milestone. It's evidence. Evidence that you've learned how to create value, how to control your spending, how to take calculated risks, how to survive failure, and most importantly, how to build something that keeps producing value after you've finished working. Once you understand this, the entire concept of wealth begins to look different. Chapter 1, the first million is mostly about you. When people imagine becoming a millionaire, they usually imagine the money. $1 million bank account, a luxury house, a sports car, a life where nothing is financially stressful. But the money isn't the most important part. The most important part is the person capable of creating it. Imagine giving a financially inexperienced person $1 million. Then give the same amount to someone who has spent 20 years learning how to build businesses, manage investments, negotiate deals, control expenses, and manage risk. They have the same starting balance. But they don't have the same wealth. Why? Because money without financial capability can disappear. The person who knows how to create wealth has something much more valuable. They have a wealth-building system inside their head. That's why the journey toward the first million matters so much. You have to become more valuable. You have to learn skills. You have to increase your income. You have to control your expenses. You have to learn how investing works. You have to understand risk. You have to make decisions without knowing exactly what will happen. And you have to keep going when the results are almost invisible. The first million is therefore less about collecting money, and more about building the ability to create and protect money. That ability stays with you. Chapter 2, why the first $100,000 feels so difficult. The journey doesn't begin with millions. It begins with your first $1,000. Then 10,000. Then 50,000. Then 100,000. And the first 100,000 can feel painfully slow. Imagine investing $10,000. Even if it grows by 10% in a year, that's only $1,000 of growth. You still need to contribute more money. You still need to work. You still need to save. At this stage, your capital isn't powerful enough to change your life by itself. Your labor is doing most of the work. Your job creates income. Your business creates income. Your skills create income. Your investments are still relatively small. This is why the beginning feels so frustrating. You can work for years and look at your investment account and think, that's it. But something important is happening. You're building the base. And the base is everything. If you have $10,000 invested, a 10% return produces $1,000. If you have $100,000, the same return produces $10,000. Now imagine $500,000. The same percentage produces $50,000. Nothing about the percentage changed. Your money simply became large enough for the returns to become noticeable. This is the beginning of the transition. You stop being the only engine. Your capital starts becoming an engine too. Chapter 3, the moment money starts working differently. This is where the first million becomes fascinating. Let's say you eventually accumulate $1 million in investable assets. A hypothetical 7% annual return would represent roughly $70,000 of growth in a year before taxes and fees. That's not guaranteed. Markets don't produce a smooth return every year. Some years can be negative. Some can be dramatically positive. But the principle remains. A larger base creates larger dollar changes from the same percentage movement. This is why wealthy people can appear to get richer without working proportionally harder. Their capital is doing something their time cannot do. Your time is limited. You can work 8 hours, maybe 10, maybe 12, but there are still only 24 hours in a day. Capital doesn't sleep. A diversified portfolio can continue compounding while you're sleeping. A business can generate revenue while you're on vacation. A rental property can produce rent while you're spending time with your family. A book can generate royalties years after it was written. A software product can serve thousands of customers without requiring you to personally serve everyone. This is leverage. And leverage is one of the biggest differences between building wealth and simply earning income. Chapter 4, the first million gives you leverage. Leverage means using something you already have to produce a larger result. A worker uses time. A business owner uses employees, systems, technology, and capital. An investor uses capital. A creator uses an audience. The first million can dramatically increase the amount of leverage available to you. Imagine two people discover the same investment opportunity. One has $10,000. The other has $1 million. They might receive the same percentage return, but the dollar outcome is completely different. This is why capital can become a competitive advantage. Money gives you options. You can wait. You don't have to sell an investment because your refrigerator broke. You don't have to accept the first job offer because you have no emergency savings. You don't have to take every business opportunity simply to pay next month's bills. You have breathing room. And breathing room creates better decisions. This is something that doesn't show up on a bank statement. Financial security changes your psychology. When you're desperate for money, you tend to think short term. When you're financially secure, you can think longer term. And long-term thinking is incredibly powerful. Chapter 5, the psychological shift. There's a point in the wealth-building journey where your relationship with money begins to change. At the beginning, every $1,000 matters. A $500 unexpected expense can feel painful. You watch your bank account closely. You compare prices. You worry about losing what you've saved. That's normal. You're building your foundation. But after years of saving and investing, your mindset can shift. You start thinking less about individual purchases and more about opportunity cost. Instead of asking, "Can I afford this?" you start asking, "What could this money become if I invested it?" That's a completely different question. A $5,000 purchase isn't just $5,000. It's also the future growth that money could have generated. This doesn't mean wealthy people never spend money. They absolutely do. The difference is that they understand what their money is doing. Every dollar has a job. Some dollars provide security. Some create growth. Some provide enjoyment. Some buy experiences. The goal isn't to never spend. The goal is to stop spending unconsciously. Because wealth isn't simply about how much you earn. It's about how intentionally you allocate what you earn. Chapter 6, why the second million can be different. Now we reach the part that sounds almost unfair. Why can the second million sometimes be easier than the first? Because you aren't starting from zero. You already have capital. You already have experience. You already understand your strengths. You have relationships. You have a reputation. You understand what mistakes cost. You know what opportunities to avoid. And your money is already working. Imagine someone who reaches $1 million at age 40. They don't suddenly need to earn another $1 million through salary alone. Their existing assets can continue growing. If their investments appreciate, their net worth can increase without additional labor. If their business grows, their ownership stake can become more valuable. If they continue contributing new capital, the compounding effect becomes even stronger. This is why wealth can look like it accelerates later. The early years are dominated by contributions. The later years can become dominated by growth. You're no longer pushing the entire machine yourself. The machine has momentum. Chapter 7. But $1 million doesn't automatically mean you're rich. There's an important warning here. Having $1 million does not automatically mean you're financially free. $1 million sounds enormous. But the number by itself tells you very little. What matters is what you own, how much income it produces, how much you spend, and how long the money needs to last. Someone with $1 million and extremely high annual expenses may have less financial security than someone with $500,000 and a modest lifestyle. A person with $1 million in a business isn't necessarily the same as someone with $1 million in diversified liquid investments. $1 million house doesn't provide the same financial flexibility as a $1 million portfolio. And inflation changes purchasing power over time. So the real goal shouldn't be to reach an arbitrary number simply because it sounds impressive. The real goal is control. Control over your time. Control over your choices. Control over your financial future. That's what makes wealth valuable. Chapter 8. The real secret is the first million. Here's the most important idea in this entire video. The first million is not valuable because of the number. It's valuable because of what it represents. It represents years of delayed gratification. Thousands of decisions. Skills developed. Mistakes survived. Opportunities recognized. Money saved. Capital invested. And patience maintained while everyone else was looking for shortcuts. The first million proves that you can build wealth. And once you've proven that, you have something much more valuable than the money itself. You have a repeatable process. Think about a farmer. The first harvest is difficult. The land has to be prepared. Seeds have to be planted. The farmer has to learn the seasons. Mistakes have to be made. But once the system works, the next harvest isn't starting from bare ground. The land is already there. The knowledge is already there. The equipment is already there. The process is already there. Wealth works in a similar way. Your first million is the first major harvest. Ending the number is not the point. Imagine two people standing at the same starting line. One sees $1 million as an impossible mountain. The other sees it as a system. One asks, "How can I make $1 million?" The other asks, "How can I become someone capable of creating $1 million?" That second question is far more powerful. Because money is temporary. Skills remain. Knowledge remains. Relationships remain. Reputation remains. The ability to solve valuable problems remains. And those things can create money again. That's why your first million is different. It is the hardest because you're building everything from scratch. You're building income. You're building discipline. You're building knowledge. You're building capital. You're building confidence. But eventually, something changes. Your capital becomes large enough to matter. Your experience becomes deep enough to guide you. Your network becomes strong enough to create opportunities. And your money begins working alongside you. The first million requires you to push the machine. The next million can begin coming from the machine. And that's the part most people never see. They look at wealthy people and think the biggest difference is the amount of money they have. But the real difference is the system underneath it. A system built from skills, ownership, discipline, time, and compounding. So don't obsess over the $1 million number. Build the person who can create it. Build the skills. Build the assets. Build the habits. Build the patience. Because the first million isn't the finish line. It's the moment when the rules begin to change. And once you've built something capable of producing wealth, the most powerful thing you can own isn't $1 million. It's the ability to create another one.